Yes, well, it's a good evening here from Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, and we go simulcast, as you know, on a Thursday night in Australia. But we also do it because it's 10 o'clock in daylight saving time in the UK, where my co-host Andrena Forrest is based and located. So between the two of us, we scour the world looking for interesting guests like the one we've got today, who's currently sitting between the two of us. So it's a World Cup rugby starts on Friday between France and the All Blacks. So Denovan's there. He's the hooker. He's in between the two of us, and we're propping him up for the night. Anyway, without further ado, Andrena, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Dreaming the New Dream, wherever you are in the world. And today it's the 6th of September, 2023. And I have to say, it's my great pleasure to have Denovan Truman on the show. And you came on at very short notice. So I was chatting with Rick Dewars, I think it was Monday, and he said he needed to connect, or it'd be good for Denovan and I to connect together. So anyway, long story short, but Tuesday we connected and here we are. So thank you for stepping in at short notice and welcome to Dreaming the New Dream.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's an absolute pleasure and super excited to be here with both you and Jeffrey. And yeah, very excited to be able to sort of share a bit about my story and what I'm passionate about.
I know, well, I mean, you've got quite a vast array of subjects here, because I know I've heard your rapping songs. Not that I'm into rapping as such, but great that you can do that. You've got a carpet cleaning business. You work with sound frequencies, and we've been talking about the inner voice, and obviously sound is my passion as well. And I work with your speaking voice, so I work like each star sign relates to a note and a color. So what I'm interested in is the notes that are not coming through vocally, so it's freeing your voice up. So interestingly, that you did me a sample, and in 4 of the notes it came up recommended chiropractor, and I'd been in a mishap a little while ago, and I had to see the chiropractor this week, so that was spot on. So, but anyway, so without and also you're going to talk about GPMS, which I joined a long time ago, and explain, to our viewers that have no idea about GPMS, it's a worldwide agreement. And I remember somewhere I saw that I think there's only 800 signed up in the UK, but I think it was about 18 or 19,000 in the Philippines or somewhere. And I'm thinking, what's going on there then? So hoping today that more people will sign up and help, Anyway, without me waffling on anymore, start off where you landed on planet Earth and how all these different stepping stones that have brought us here together now.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I mean, I was born in 1979 in Kingston upon Thames, which is just on the outskirts of southwest London, near Wimbledon, where people will be familiar with the tennis, and that's actually where I've been living like most of my life. And I mean, I started my journey with a Christian faith, and went to church and was in the choir and stuff, which I started when I went to private school for about just a short term of about 2 years, which I then hated being away from my parents at that age of 7 to 9, and despite sort of telling them so, they kept me in there because they wanted me to have a good education. So I actually ran away from that school, with a chum, and that sort of assured that they realised how much I sort of didn't enjoy it. So I then went back into the comprehensive school life, which I had already started obviously before. I had an interesting experience, obviously, actually going into a private school, in the sense that you had to do like a little test, like a pre-test, to sort of see where you're at with your sort of intelligence level, I guess. And I recall doing some mathematical equations, which I really didn't have any idea really what I was doing. And I was told by my parents after that session happened that actually the teacher thought that I was a mathematical genius, or I could be.
Wow.
I do recall that she, because I did these calculations, and then she said, you know, how did you work those out? And I actually went through. I didn't really know how I worked it out, to be honest. I think I guessed it. I think it was my intuition that I used to actually get the answer. But obviously, I tried to then put it down on paper, and she just, I think maybe she couldn't understand my calculation, and that's why she said it. Turns out, I'm not a mathematical genius. I think I ended up getting an F at my GCSE, but I was never really an academic, even though I had actually that advanced education for a couple of years. Did actually really advance me, and when I went back into the comprehensive school, I was ahead of a lot of the other kids. But it was great because I got to see the difference of those two worlds. You know, how they actually teach, and like the size of the classes, and you know how they really develop, you know, young people in the sort of public school, private school education versus obviously comprehensive, where you can see why there's not so many people that tend to do so well in their academics, obviously, in that side. So, but from a young age, I was very, very aware of like this huge, you know, poverty around the world, and questioning why that had to be that way when I could see that there was also so much wealth. I mean, one of my friends at the private school had a castle, or his family owned a castle, you know, so they're very wealthy, and you know, I was very, very aware of that. And but very compassionate. You know, a lot of my good friends that I came to be very good friends with in my middle school and high school were obviously from very modest backgrounds, you know, from council estates and what have you. And so, yeah, I wasn't obviously a judgmental one based on having sort of, you know, affluent parents who were, you know, my dad was Oxford. He went to Oxford University. But also a bit of a dropout as far as they were concerned when it got to my academics, because I didn't do too well. But my passion was more in the arts and crafts. I love drama. I didn't really get the guidance to sort of go down that route, and I'm more encouraged to try and sort of go down the business route, seeing as there's family members that had started their own business and stuff like that. And so I dropped out of college actually after a year, and began working door to door for a carpet cleaning company. So I didn't think at that time that I would end up starting a carpet cleaning business about 15 or 20 years later. But I learned the art of selling door to door, which was very, very challenging. And after a couple of years of gaining some skills there, I went and did some other things. So I worked in like the telecommunications industry. I worked for my brother, who's 14 years older than me, for 4 years in insurance broking, commercial insurance broking. Worked and did a bit of advertising sales, worked as a negotiator and estate agent for a while. But it was actually selling audio and web conferencing solutions 20 years ago that I kind of decided to become a bit more mature. But I also started to then realize that, you know, the corporate world wasn't for me. I enjoyed aspects of it, like, you know, the social aspect of it working in London, but I really didn't like the high pressure and stuff. And I kind of wanted to work for myself, but simultaneously, I was very passionate still about acting at that time, and so I started to look on websites, you know, that were just emerging at that time, which were like the kind of Facebooks for, you know, acting and performance. And so I got myself onto one of those, and subsequently, I also was obviously going down the awakening process, looking into conspiracies, and that started to take my interest, you know, sort of in my late 20s. Zeitgeist movie was one of the first, I think, things that I watched, and then started to follow David Icke and went to one of his shows. But yeah, basically, I subsequently got made redundant, which I actually saw as a godsend, because I've been working for the company at that point for 4 years, so I got a nice little redundancy package, and I thought, well, I can pursue my acting career. So there was a few websites available, because one of the challenges was with going into acting, you know, not straight from school and going down that route of drama in school and college and what have you. I mean, I did drama in school, but I didn't do it in college. Was that obviously you needed to, at that time, you needed to, it was really get qualified. There was very few routes into that industry, whereas obviously by the time I was in my late 20s, you had like the online capability of reaching out to agents and what have you. But I very quickly realized, having started doing a bit of drama training, that actually I needed to have a sideline. And I had I'd had already previously, about 5 years before, a dream about starting my own carpet cleaning company. to the point where I actually started putting down on paper how that might look, how I could possibly start that with a friend. But I approached a friend who I worked in the industry with, who I remained very good friends with, and he wasn't too interested in going back into it at that point. And so that sort of, just, went by the wayside. But then sometime, again, maybe about a year before I got made redundant, I had another dream about starting a carpet cleaning business or service. And so I went with my intuition. I thought, okay, well, I could actually do this. I could do that maybe as a sideline. And so I simultaneously trained as an actor at the age of 30, as well as actually learning the art of and craft of carpet cleaning. And one of the reasons why I was confident about doing that is because I had the background in sales and going door to door. I knew that even though we're in the height of recession, which was 2009 at that time, I could go out and find the business myself. But I also knew that people would probably be wanting to look after they've got in a recession rather than replace it. So I felt quite confident I could keep that going. But it was just realistically impossible, really, to make a new business work and to do the acting. And I met many actors that were still doing extra work. So I did a bit of TV extra work. I was in the background of EastEnders and Miss Marple and a couple of movies and stuff like that. And I was meeting quite experienced actors still doing extra work, and I just thought, it's going to take me 10 years probably to get a break here. And of course, I just, in the end, seeing that I had a gap in the market of carpet cleaning, because the training I did put me in the top 1% of companies, I felt, well, I've got something that I can grow here. And perhaps the dream there was actually for me to start a business and have it fully functioning, and then go into do the acting full time, because I felt like I had to probably do RADA or something to really break it into the acting world there. But yeah, I mean, of course, all along the way, I was having these shifts in my consciousness about, the world that I was living in. I mean, even as a negotiator at the age of 19, like in the estate agency market in Fulham, I was getting really angry at why I was getting penalty charge notices when all I was trying to do was do my job and there wasn't enough parking available, and I was losing half of my salary almost to parking fines. And I just thought that just wasn't right. So I was having these little shifts, and I remember having conversations with my family about it. Just sort of saying, it really, really angry. I used to be quite an angry individual growing up, because I did sort of feel that the world was just very, very wrong, and all I wanted to do was just do the right thing for everyone and be really good. And but I just saw a lot of stress upon people, and so then I started the company, continued with the acting. Obviously had an interest in the music and the rap. That was something that sort of came to me, sort of in my teens. I was just doing it really more for a hobby. But then sort of in my later life, I was just having fun writing lyrics about things that I knew about. So it wasn't about gangster rap, I wanted to keep it real. And coming from the ghettos of Wimbledon Village or around that area, didn't sort of really see to, go hand in hand. So I was writing more about stuff like CBD oil and hemp and the benefits of that, and the backstory of hemp. Seeing that actually with music and writing, you could actually also kind of open up consciousness with that as well. To do with certain things. So and then more recently, I produced a rap for GPMS.world, and also which is it's got to about 18,000 views, I think, on one circulation there so far. But also I wrote quite a sort of future-seeing rapper, which was 2020, just about what the agenda was, and that was called Crown 5G. I won't sort of saying that in case that might upset some people. But yeah, basically, it's it was again just pulling together some of the things that I could see, and that's one of the things I kind of observed through my journey, was that I was having experiences with synchronicities. Recognizing that things were energy, frequency, vibration, resonance, and that started to really kind of scale and escalate more after my dad passed away in about 2013. I had some very powerful things around the time of his death that occurred that really, obviously, again accelerated my awakening process, as well as the fact that I also saw in 2009, which was before he passed, but that was whilst I was still working and before I started my company. The UFOs over in Borneo, which I think Jeffrey probably see some pictures on there. in the group there, which you could share. And that was interesting because around 2009, I think it was actually later after that, my partner and I, we actually saw another type of UFO on New Year's Eve of 2009, 2010. So here, this flying saucers that you can see, this bright light there, I did not see that when I took these pictures. So basically I was taking quite a few pictures, just more or less standing in the same place, but angling, the camera slightly differently, and didn't even pick up on it. And so these two pictures were taken probably more or less within the same sort of 30-second period or minute or two, because I took a few. And then it was just looking back through the pictures like the next day that I thought, hang on a minute, what's that? And I could see, obviously in one picture it is in one position, in another picture is another position. And clearly also I've seen other examples of sources that look that kind of color. But I think it was actually from the camera flash that actually revealed it. It was actually probably, I don't think it was moving at a hypersonic sort of speed or anything. It was just actually cloaked and I couldn't see it. So,
amazing. Because I did share, a friend sent me, I think yesterday, that her brother's in Scotland and he captured a brilliant UFO, which I shared. I haven't shared it on Facebook yet because I have to get permission, but yeah, amazing. And I know some people, listeners will know, I was in Glastonbury after the Healing Weekend, which was July, and it was a 3-day event, and my sister and I, and we couldn't sleep, we just couldn't settle, and we she said, oh, come on out, let's go outside and look at the stars. So anyway, she went on out and then I came out and then she said, quick, look at this. And next minute there was this UFO, like a cigar shape, going across, and it was as clear could be, and it was just a bright light, and I'm going, oh my God. And but she tried to film it, but it's just like it bounced everywhere on the, but it was just amazing. And we're here, but they kept going.
Well, I've also had as well, like, over the last few years, well, certainly the last 10 years, like various dreams where I've actually been on a ship and stuff like that. And, and seeing them, like, and cloaking and things. And in fact, when I came in contact with Rick on GPMS.world, 2 days after that, I had a dream with Rick and his partner, who I hadn't seen any pictures of at that point. And I think they probably looked different to me in the dream, but I knew them as Rick and Femke. And there was, again, I was looking into the night sky and I could see, like, in the cloaking of these ships, like, you could see the outline of them, but it was just amazing. Every experience I had like that was amazing. Every dream I had like that was amazing. And so, and I've also had dreams of, obviously, again, being able to maneuver objects as well, like, with the mind and stuff, telekinesis, that sort of stuff. And from a young age, I'm sure that I'm probably not unique in this sense in any way, shape or form, but I actually firmly believed that it was possible to move things with the mind. And I used to stare at objects trying to do it, and I continue to do that, for some time, probably stopped around sort of before puberty or something like that. But I definitely had this sense that we could do it, and we just didn't know how to do it, and it was just something that needed to be developed. But
you just needed Yoda to say, strong mind you need.
Yeah. But we did all have a go at bending the spoons, didn't we? Like, we all had teaspoons, and we
So I mean, it's So I've had some very, very interesting dreams in my time, like I said, around the time of my death, not my death, sorry, my father's death. Very profound experience I had there, and other dreams that obviously there was connections with those dreams to our actual reality. So I could obviously see that there was absolute connection with the different dimensions of reality, and the dream world is obviously a dimensional realm, which obviously can be influencing you in the current realm as well, but also giving you insights into your dimension and what have you. But I could share with you. I could share with your audience a bit about that experience I had with my father, if you wish, or we can talk.
Yeah, no, go on, because I'm very. I mean, I've had dreams for years and years. Thank you, Beth. Lost me track of thoughts. Yes, I can't remember. how long ago, and I've got a lot of information in my dreams, and I've been on spaceships doing controls and all sorts in my dreams. So I know where you are.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Well, I mean, basically, about 2 months before my dad passed away, like I was at a house party with some friends, and previous to the party, I've been looking up online, like, has anybody seen any birds just dying mid-flight? Because I'd never seen it, and that question had been put into Google, and there was a few responses on some sort of forum, and and nobody had seen one bird just die flying in mid-flight. And my thought process and why I kind of put that question out there and was interested was because I thought, well, people die of heart attacks all the time. They just fall down and die. Surely that must occur in the animal kingdom. Why don't we see it? Why haven't I seen it in the 30 odd years of my life at that point? And there was some replies at that point that came in where people said, I haven't seen any single birds dying in mid-flight, but I did see a group of dead birds that just fell out of the sky. And then, of course, they were talking about the thought process being behind HAARP or something like that, that may have caused that. But anyway, having had this conversation with some friends at the party, they were all trying to come up with, like, their kind of logical reasons as to why that hadn't been seen, which I didn't really buy, to be honest. And then about 2 months later, my dad passed, and what happened was that I was actually listening to Eckhart Tolle, which again, I was starting to sort of go through that kind of process of like meditation and learning about sort of being present and conscious. And I was listening to one of his audio tapes on the way to work, and I was with my partner, and we were sat at a railway crossing just waiting for the train to pass. And I was looking up in the sky, and because he was saying, "Oh, look, to help keep yourself present in the moment, you can really pay attention to nature, and that's really where you're kind of bringing your mind into a present state of being." So I looked up and I saw this black crow in the distance flying, and all of a sudden it just started to go like that, like it was struggling, and then it just fell out of the sky. And I sort of like was really shocked. I turned around to my partner and said, "Do you see that?" She said, yeah, that bird just fell out of the sky. And so I thought, well, that's weird. Anyway, so then the train came and I drove to work, which it took about 10 minutes to get to. And as I got there and I unloaded my machine, my phone rang and my mum called me and she said, "Oh, your father had a heart attack 10 minutes ago and I've been trying to resuscitate him." And so obviously at the exact time, more or less, that I saw that, obviously he had a heart attack. Now they did, start his heart again apparently, but I think, to be honest, they were keeping him alive, just with the machine after that. And so that was obviously quite a profound experience. But then obviously in the hospital with him as well, I kind of already knew that he'd really kind of gone. I was kind of praying that he would get through it. But I mean, he was 87. I mean, my father was 52 when I was born. So he lived a good life. But there was a strong pungent smell that whilst he was still on the machine, apparently alive, which is like I could say the smell of death. And I'm not sure whether that was us smelling it, or, whether anyone else would have smelled that who weren't linked to the family or anything. But about 2-3 days after that, I was working with my partner again, and we were just loading some equipment into the van, and then I got this very strong smell from, same smell. It's an unusual smell, not pleasant, I admit. But I instantly got in the vehicle and I just said to my partner, "Did you?" And she finished my sentence, "Smell your dad." I was like, "Yeah." You smelled that? And she said, yeah, he was here. I think he was here visiting us. So that was very interesting. And my other couple, my brother and my sister both said that they had that same smell around the house, my mum's house and what have you. And then 3 weeks after that, I had a very vivid dream where I was sitting in the vehicle and I was talking with my dad, and I then became aware of how was this possible, and you must be dreaming because you're not here. And I was saying this in the conversation with him, and he was saying, "Well, no, we're here." And I said, "Well, pinch me because I must be dreaming." And he pinched me, and I wasn't. I didn't wake up, and I was just like, "Wow!" And I said, "How's this?" And he said, "I don't know, but let's just enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it whilst we can." So. We had a conversation, and I had an immense sense of peace, obviously, after that. Like, I knew that I could see him and I would see him again. And of course, I've had other dreams where I've seen my dad. It was an experience which I think quite a few people have probably had something similar. and that was very profound. And so yeah, that was for me again a massive part of my journey. And then of course I've had, like I say, other very interesting dreams, like where, you know, again it's just there, there's no possibility of coincidence with these things. They are absolute synchronicities, and they're, you know, we learn a lot of stuff from our dreams. That's what I found as well, that, like, you know, even if you're not consciously remembering a lot of what you're dreaming about, it is part of our journey and our experience, and they are real, you know, real documents that we're going to.
Yeah, I know in the middle of the night sometimes I wake up and I think, oh, I'll remember that in the morning, but you can bet your bottom dollar life, whatever, you don't. So now when I have one, I make sure I write it down, and then in the morning I think, oh, you know, and there is lots of information, and it's like how you feel about the dream and what it brings up for you, because obviously we need to be aware of triggers and different things now, you know, because we're evolving so fast that anyway, yeah.
Have you got the sheep and the goats and the chooks out?
Yeah, I don't know, one of them must be loose, so apologies if you hear strange sounds. I should have warned you, because I am on a farm, so I think one of them, Debbie that owns them, is obviously coming out to feed them, because they all make a lot of noise. So
is that a goat or a sheep? Is that a goat?
Well, it sounds like a goat, but I can't see.
I hear it.
Yeah, I can't see where it is. So it's, and you know, I have to be careful now, because there's 3 brown sheep, and they're young. Well, it must be about over a year old now. And one of them keeps coming in. And yesterday it was on the step. And I thought, God, I'm going to have to watch this, because it obviously wants to come in and see what I got in here. And it's like, oh, my God.
Is anyway, the incarnation of?
Who knows? Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, well, yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So I guess a massive thing that I've become passionate about, alongside GPMS and what that's delivering to humanity, and that it is here, and it is, as far as I absolutely have a knowing of, going to be a massive part of our advancement of humanity into a world which obviously is free of poverty and all of the manipulation and harms and pain and suffering that we see, actually. But a very big part of that is the consciousness, obviously, that we're all connected through, and our awakening to who we really are, you know, and the power that we have. Because obviously I've had these experiences, and many people are having these experiences simultaneously. Like, literally, I mean, millions of people, well, billions of people are having these experiences, but not yet recognizing them for what they are. But you know, obviously many millions, I'm sure, are with us, obviously, recognizing these for what they are, and it's part of the awakening process, which is a key part of the process for humanity to advance forward. To realize that obviously we are all connected, and that we are all one ultimately, and that we really do need to be living, loving thy neighbor like thyself in that sense. Because you know, the most important thing is that we have the most uplifting and high vibrational experience we can, especially as everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. So obviously we need to, you know, be positive as much as we can, and of course that's not the world that we're being shown in all of the different forms of media. You know, even the alternative news, you know, is very low vibrational, and you know, it's being used as a weapon against the people to keep them in a low vibration, to keep them asleep, to keep them in fear, because that is basically what would ultimately maintain the kind of experience and the rich and powerful are able to enjoy, you know, and they're just not having that kind of level of consciousness where they actually realize how beautiful it would be when everyone can be as you know, free and abundant as the next one, ultimately. And so obviously GPMS is raising the vibration of people with the actual solution that is palpable, with a plan that's contained in the website that kind of shows how we go from where we are now to where we will be. But it's also connecting those ones who are already on their awakening process, that kind of can see it and actually trust it, because they're living more in their heart space, and they're not in fear, and they don't see things as problems, but as tests and challenges. But you know, obviously that we do really have this amazing time right now, because we're in that point where we can actually do what GPMS is actually saying we're going to do. And why? And that's because we've got the connectivity of the internet. We're able to connect with our brothers and sisters worldwide, which we weren't really able to do 20 years ago. I mean, obviously, even in Africa now, many people don't have a mobile phone device or internet, but we've got enough people there who do. And so those people will obviously be the guardians to actually reach the ones that don't have it, give them the information about GPMS, and actually have them, complete the agreement. They'll do the agreement with them for them. And then that's where obviously we will reach the worldwide majority with this. So yeah, this is the newsletter.
Yeah, I was looking at the figures. It was Thailand, I think, had 18,000.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Right, let's have a 17,000 for Thailand, Philippines 13, India 9, Peru 3, United States 3, UK 8-2.
Yes,
and Canada 8-2. So what is why is like Philippines and Thailand so in tune with what's going on regarding GPMS as opposed to UK? Like there's like quite a difference in the numbers.
For a number of reasons.
What do you think that is about?
Well, basically, it's the fact that again they're much more community sort of driven areas of the world. They're very close knit communities, and they're already obviously, of course, experienced. A lot of them understand that having a good life and being fulfilled is not about having a lot of money, and they don't see themselves as being able to have a lot of money. But they are living more in their heart space. A lot of them are more connected spiritually as well. They've maintained that connection with spirituality more than other nations. They don't have the benefit system that, for example, the UK does. I mean, obviously, UK's got the sort of biggest kind of benefit system, which is why we see, are seeing more problems already here in many respects than in other places. But that, those benefits that makes people complacent. It means that people obviously are not going to. They're also feeling like they're being given something by the government. The government has acted as a parent to them, and they're expecting something to change. The only again, we're also finding that the reason why those numbers are growing so fast in the Philippines. I mean, they're doing it right, and so is Thailand, and India, where they're obviously actually getting together and having physical gatherings and spreading the word that way, because the numbers that have grown have largely come in from our networking and trying to reach people online, which is obviously the way that we can connect and how this will be done, via the internet ultimately. But of course, we're seeing the suppression, the censorship, and there's a lot of people that just aren't seeing GPMS. But there is definitely the difference in consciousness that we find in the different parts of the world. But even Africa, I've been involved in sort of getting Uganda started, and they're on that. That's just showing you the top numbers. So we're actually in more or less most countries worldwide. We've even got something like 45 consents in China. So it's starting, and South Korea we've got a few, and we haven't got into North Korea yet, I don't think. But there's a lot of countries with maybe just one or two, but we've got quite a few countries with at least sort of between sort of 30 and 150, 200, and so even in Africa you would expect that obviously they would be ready to see this and agree to it in principle, because basically what GPMS is going to do is ultimately create an unlimited funding for all people. And it's done through a democratic vote through the website ultimately. So we need to get a majority of people to agree to this worldwide. And that isn't an impossibility like some might think, because actually you've got over 3 billion people, maybe 4 billion people more already below the line of poverty. That may not care, a lot of them may not care about having a lot of money, but they would just love to be able to have good quality food, healthcare, transport, freedom to move, all of those things, and to not have to see the harms that they see every day and around them. So we've got half the planet that are ready, but they're also the most disempowered people as well. Like they just don't feel like they are even entitled to it. A lot of them have been culturally bred to believe that they're never going to have much, generally speaking, by what they see, and And again, of course, learning about things coming in from the West in Africa may not also help sometimes, because they're kind of wary about, oh yeah, it's coming in from the Western world or whatever. But it will grow, and it is growing. So it's just a question of time. But it's really the growth, and the rapid growth occurs, of course, the more people actually get involved with what we're doing. So not just giving their agreement, but actually becoming active guardians with us, getting it out to people. I've been one of the most instrumental people. There's, I don't know what number, maybe it could be 100, 200 people that I see being fairly active online with this. Of course, we've got a lot more people doing activity offline, which again, especially in Thailand and the Philippines. But it's the uniting of the people. This is the platform to do it, uniting all groups, to come together who are, truth seekers, freedom fighters, sovereign groups, spiritual leaders, and showing that actually, whatever their current sort of level of belief is, we can all agree on ending poverty, ending tax, ending war, being able to just basically have create a beautiful world, look after our planet. Nobody wants to see our planet obviously becoming destroyed. But the way that you do that is by actually basically not having conflicts of interest. Therefore, capitalism has got to go, really. And it is going, even if they're not telling us about that on a government level, because when they're pushing the climate change agenda, you can't go to net zero and encourage free enterprise for anyone to start their own business, because it by nature will create more pollution and waste, which the current systems are unable to cope with. But it's the conflicts of interest that prevent the technology that is already here and available of being rolled out to heal the planet rapidly. And of course, the new technology that obviously is a conflict of interest to those other existing corporations, and that they don't want it. And also the freedom that a lot of those actually offer. So the way that it essentially works is we have three phases to the plan, which you can read about on the website. And it's not really complicated. And it does. And the reason being is that plan doesn't need to be complicated. When you have unlimited funding, everything becomes simple, actually. And when you have,
that's my motto: keep it simple. We don't need to do like a whole book when we could do a page. But anyway.
So ultimately, we see that the governments have never been able to deliver the optimum human experience for all people. Where they try and fix things, or with their policies, whatever, it might offer some sort of better experience in some aspects for some people, but the vast majority don't see that benefit, and it fails continuously. So ultimately, what needs to happen is a complete change, a complete creation of a new system, and ultimately that means that we will still have like committees of people that would be organizers of things, but they're not going to be dictators or leaders, because actually in the world that we're creating, we're recognized all as universally infinite in our value, all of us, and no one has authority over anyone. But we obviously have people with other expertise which will teach and coach people into different areas as we need them to assist. But we don't need to have a financial industry. We don't employs 1 billion people. We don't need to have armies and all that sort. So you're going to have billions of people accessible, contributing to what needs to be done. That's improving the experience for all people upon the planet, all people, and improving our planet. And it means that the work hours that people will need to work in the future are going to be drastically reduced. People can work as much as they want if they're doing something they're passionate about. Of course they can. But ultimately, what needs to be done and what will be done going forward, obviously for the essential stuff, it will mean that literally billions of people, but between billions of people, only probably about 10 hours of work a week per person will be required, which means that we're not enslaved. And we're being rewarded because we are working a lot of the time doing things for each other, which we don't get paid for, we don't get recognized for. We do it because we appreciate their appreciation. We're grateful for that. They're grateful for receiving our help, and that's just reciprocated, and that's the kind of world we're moving into. So this is bolstered by this visibility of the growing consents that's on the website. So this is why, even though it's been slow to start to get to where we are now, but as you experienced a year ago, it was probably about 20,000 consents. It's now up to close to 60,000, right? It's going to get to a number of 250,000 or 1 million and then go exponentially. growing, because obviously the awareness and the people actually supporting it and talking about it is growing. We're going to be uniting, obviously, in a physical way, like the Philippines are, like Thailand are, but in different countries around the world. And that, just like the massive protests that have occurred, through the last few years for different things, right, obviously escalated and grew, was just by those actual physical gatherings, because people see that as palpable. They see this as palpable because they can see the numbers are growing, and you can actually look at consent on this as well when you actually give your agreement, which is very simple. It takes a minute or two to do, just filling out your first name, last name, email address, your country and your location, but nothing really personal you're giving away, and you just tick it and you put a heart kind of autograph, not a signature, just a heart to show that you're the human being that's there. And you're agreeing to the decree here, the pledges of our freedoms, our God-given freedoms, the freedoms that we're born with, can't be given to you by any government, can't be taken away. They just are, our freedoms. And obviously the statement which actually says that we are all equal ultimately, but we are the highest authority. So we've got a higher authority as the people over all governments and institutions, because what's embedded within this is also the simplified law, which is do no harm. So that one law is simplified because that allows you to have absolute freedom, to be able to move and express and love and share and have sustenance and be in comfort and all of those good things, but as long as you don't do any harm to anyone else. And so again, this is where we're going, where the reinstallation of morality is going to be placed back into the hearts of each one, which is occurring again with the awakening process as well, as people go through there and do their inner work and realize about trauma and why we react to people and its vibration again, but it's also that subconscious state of being that we've been in, through all of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing fantastic work, so thank you for that, because obviously it's very technical and you've got to be on the ball with all these things. So for people like you, thank you, because it's not my forte, but I'm happy to share and help, but don't give me the technical stuff.
But
I know. Well, hopefully sharing the show and after today, a few more people will take it on board and share it and sign up. So that's what it's all about. And like you say, the awakening, there's so many more people now realize, well, this isn't right, what's going on here, and like you said, they're starting to feel, they're starting to question, whereas before people didn't question and they did the following, but now people are really becoming more aware and asking questions and looking into things, which is great, really, because we are in the greatest time of history now, aren't we? We're in the time of change, and it's happening very, very fast. So so the more that we can help people that need support or guidance, like there's a whole team of, or a whole network of people that are joined together.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, that's actually really a massive part of our awakening process, is to become then the support network for the others that are starting their awakening process. Because, for those people that are starting to either having a rude awakening because something happens that really shifts them, or start to just naturally become interested in looking at some of the things that they previously just wouldn't look at because it was labeled as a conspiracy theory and they were kind of conditioned. They're kind of now all those people are starting to think, well, actually a lot of those conspiracy theories are coming into being. I want to get ahead of the game now, and start learning about this stuff. But of course, for a lot of people going through that journey now, they can have a fear about it because it's kind of like, well, but then at the same time, that fear very quickly they find, actually, when they start doing it, actually it turns into empowerment, because you actually realize that, there's a growing number of people that are coming together, and we are the many, they are the few. And so there's nothing to fear about with what's going on. And actually, this is the most beautiful time, because we're on this journey now to actually see something that's going to be absolutely magnificent. And, I had premonitions of GPMS from a young age. Like, I was with my family about it, so I resonated with it immediately. It wasn't. I gave my agreement before going through and reading much of the website. I watched the video of Rick talking about it, and instantly I was like resonating with it. I recognized it because of my visions of it, and conversations I have with my family about the same sort of things. And then I went on the site and I saw the decree and the pledge, and I thought, well, that looks cool, and this all adds up, and I just gave my agreement. And but you know, as well as a self-starting kind of person that's often sort of, you know, start my own business or whatever, I just felt, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, really. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And the quicker that we actually get it done, the quicker we can all enjoy the new world.
Definitely.
So it's just, you know, so we just need a few more people who are very active. It doesn't need everyone to be sort of doing anything more than just giving their agreement, because obviously the people that are active are doing a lot of work, you know, on it, a lot, you know, and those that it resonates to do that, brilliant. Those that don't, hey, just come along for the ride.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you know, obviously there's no harm in actually giving your agreement to something, even if you don't actually yet have the kind of empowerment and sense of belief in yourself and in us to be able to do this, because it's just like any invention. Like, before it's invented, people often thought they were impossible to create, but of course everything that we've created has been created, and everything yet to come hasn't been done yet, but doesn't mean it's not going to happen. People can rescind their agreement as well at any point. If they give their agreement and they decided that they changed their mind, they could withdraw that agreement. So yeah, so just get on board.
Yeah, so simple to sign up. So I encourage everybody to go on the link. I think I shared it yesterday and we'll put it on again, but to sign up, because the more we get together, the greater the power we can be, and then we don't have to put up with all these I don't know what's going on here. Everything is suddenly falling over. Anyway, so sign up, everybody. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it's simple. So there's no cookies on there, there's no reject all, and what do you have, do not accept, and all of these things. So
yeah. It's very, very simple. I mean, just to say, I mean, for all the listeners, really, I mean, how important it is that we actually do this is that actually it's important to understand why there is the rise in crime, why the wars occur. And it's because they're enabled to by a oppressive legal system that enables that to occur, and also suppresses people, oppresses people, makes people feel unhappy and unfulfilled. And it will continue to do that. And no other system out there is going to be able to change that, even fixing it. It's just not going to occur. And so the problems are just going to get, it's like the pyramid is crumbling now, you know, because it is a pyramid system, you know, and, you know, I mean, just even with my carpet cleaning, for example, I mean, it's health and hygiene. People have a human right to have health and hygiene, and they can't afford it, a lot of people, you know. And so people need to understand that on a very basic level, even in the Western world, where they don't see poverty as much, you don't see it, but it's there and it's growing exponentially. And, you know, why wait until something happens to you directly or someone that you love? Why not just actually band together quickly now? Yeah. And it happen quickly, because we can bring this in very, very rapidly, and things go viral, you know, when they go viral, you know. So, so it's happening. Very excited, and
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so shall we mention about the inner voice and your binaural beats? And do you want to do a quick Jeff, one of his little rap?
Pick and choose whichever one you like.
Let's have a bit of rapping.
It's not the most highest vibrational frequency in that sense, especially as I've used other people's rap music as well behind it in most cases. But I tell you what's quite a good one. If people could follow, just the one about what the hemp, which is about hemp. It was a project that I was involved with that then led me to also see some interesting things about, again, how we've got many of the solutions already here, you know, to help this planet, but they're obviously being suppressed. And CBD as well in itself is a vitamin supplement that we don't get from anything else other than from hemp and cannabis. But basically, in itself, it can actually, if everybody was taking it like a vitamin daily, then it would reduce disease significantly across the planet instantly. It would just, and just by the nature of how it works. And so again, people should be hearing that, and it should be given to them ultimately, but it's not. And so you should be questioning why that is, you know, because there's no reason for it. The science is out on it. It's understood now how powerful it is.
Yeah, but can you imagine if everybody was well?
Well, this is
they'd be out of a job.
But there is the fact that obviously, I mean, you could say, well, there's various agendas at play, which we know there are, but also just actually from a capitalism point of view, like the pharmaceutical industry was in big trouble up until before COVID happened, and actually their new vaccine has helped lift them out of that trouble, because drugs take at least 15 years to produce, and they cost $5 billion to produce, and they're already in big trouble. CBD was obviously another factor there, because actually in America, where obviously it's been used obviously more so, and because the drugs cost money for people, it's an easier and quicker transition for people to think, well, I can move off my meds, it's cheaper, and I feel better, so they were doing that, and that basically does mean that ultimately it would kill the pharmaceutical industry, which there are good things within the industry, obviously, in terms of like your operations and things like that, which currently obviously assist people and what have you. So you can kind of see that there's a management of that side of things probably going on with it as well, and that's one reason.
Right, so, yeah. The voice. Let's talk a bit about the voice, because obviously when I was we're going to hear a bit of your rap. Go on then.
CBD can never die. A product from the wild and traditionally used for textile, but in recent years proven profound for our health. A booming market, yes, profound for our wealth. Now listen further to what all this means. Changing lives for the better, and together in our teams, opportunity to do something so special. Help the world on a completely new level. Saving lives and the planet be our medal. And now you're learning this. Let's step on the pedal. Besides health and wealth, what can hemp provide? Well, with 50,000 uses, that's impossible to hide. Renewable biofuels, it won't be finite. Replacing fossil fuels, that's a life is dynamite. See how important this mission be? Not about money and business solely. It's as much about health and sustainability. And we're counting where we got that ability. Get down with CBD, you and me together. We'll set the world free. Rest assured, CBD is definitely no drug, no harm, no side effects. You need to know what's up. Found large in hemp. Smoking hemp won't get you high. You're hearing this now. You're probably asking why this blonde became illegal to grow. The 1937 tax act, what do you know? Made it way too expensive. Farmers are sold in production overnight, reaching all-time low. With a madness campaign, have the people in tow. Warning parents of the dangers of cannabis. So marijuana was the name that was used in the lie. Labeling him as insane, and it's not FYI. So they go class as a drug schedule 1, claiming both of these herbs as one and among non-medicinal legal drugs like crack cocaine, far from one of the same. And who was to blame? Evidently it was these industrial tycoons who cared only for their products to be consumed. And with that in mind, and the end of prohibition, take your CBD off. It's a simple decision.
There you have it.
Excellent.
No.
My name's Andy. When I was 19, I failed university.
Oh, you want to pause that? There's someone else's video going in.
When I was 20.
So, yeah, a bit of information. So, yeah, I don't know how easy that was for people to hear. The sound quality wasn't great. But, yeah, basically, it was just obviously informing a bit about sort of hemp and obviously CBD not being a drug, and why with all of these uses, why is it not being used? Well, it's the industrial tycoons again that obviously just only care about their money and their power and control or something. Yeah. So yeah, on the frequency front, so yeah, that's something I've got very, very passionate about, recently, and obviously over the course of time as well, because I've become very aware about how everything is energy. Literally everything is energy, frequency and resonance, and this technology that I came across, basically, it works like a lie detector test in terms of how the technology works. From your voice and a 10-second recording, it can literally scan your mind and body systems to see where you've got imbalances in your mind and body in terms of your vibration, in terms of your frequency, and then it creates optimizing frequencies that then can bring you into balance. But also, it can make suggestions on other things that you might want to look at to do with, like, going to a chiropractor, or going and changing what you're eating. Certain food intolerances, heavy metals, maybe are at play, but the emotional challenges as well. So we know that physical health is often affected and by our emotional well-being, and so that's why it's critical that we can actually improve ourselves and our emotional well-being to optimize our physical being. And this actual technology does that. Just shockingly, like within a week or two of just sending out free binaural beats with people's customized frequencies imprinted to optimize them, I've just been getting, feedback after feedback from people that are saying how beautiful they're finding it, how great it makes them feel. We've been having other sort of very incredible reports with it. But the technology is much more than that. It can actually be used and is being used by medical practitioners to actually support their clients, their patients, remotely with frequency for many different symptoms. And I've been testing that out as well recently, and it definitely works. It definitely helps. So this is like the medicine for the future. It is very advanced. It's like something like, most people can't get their head around it. It kind of falls into the category of quantum science, quantum physics, which scares a lot of people off when they first hear about it because they're not familiar with it. But yeah, basically it's the connectivity of all things and through the quantum ultimately. And everything has a frequency, and our cells have frequencies, food has frequencies. So we are all connected with that, but there's certain things that, their frequency doesn't work with ours, which actually contributes to imbalances in our own health. And so this system helps you figure out what that is for you. So yeah, it's really, really cool.
I must say, I like the music because you sent me my notes, and I've had it playing in the background doing different things, but I like the music that goes with it.
Yeah, so I mean, you get access to basically 12 songs with this app. I mean, this technology originally it was based on a physical machine. The creator of this software, ultimately, his son had cerebral palsy. They couldn't actually have their own children, him and his wife. They actually adopted a child with cerebral palsy, and of course, he was told by the medical establishment, well, nothing can really be done. So he went on a pursuit worldwide to find alternative remedies. And found himself over into China, a resonance conference there. And there was this technology from Russia, bioresonance technology. So he started exploring that, and he got a machine and he was using it on his son, and his son's now, and this was like 20, 30 years ago, his son's now doing very, very well, like surprisingly well, living almost like a completely normal life. And he built a machine which cost about $38,000. It was a huge machine. It was only suitable for a clinical setting. And just thought, well, this really needs to be in every household because it works on so many different levels for everyone. And if they can access this frequency technology from an app, from their phone, then this will literally raise the vibration of the people on the planet. And we know that when you raise the vibration of, the micro enough, it has a big effect on the macro. So yeah, so he went about doing that, and now this is available, this technology for everyone ultimately. You get it on a subscription basis as an app. It's not affordable for everyone at this point. It's $150 a month, but they
is
basically
that US dollars?
US dollars, yeah. But for like health practitioners, can use the reporting element because this is a very basic report which it gives on your emotions on the 3 notes that you've overemphasized in your voice recording, which you can't lie, by the way, because it's working on that lie detector test technology type way, and the 1 note that you're underemphasizing or you're suppressing the most, and that's often linked to trauma and stuff like that. So what it then does is create the balancing notes, and then it sends that to you. But there's a reporting element that can actually give you information on your vitals and full body scans and all the rest of it. So for our practitioners, it's very useful as a tool for them. And lots of people can afford $150 a month, but they have also wanted to create an opportunity for people to get it free by sharing it with other people. So a lot of people are getting it, and they're running frequencies on themselves daily, and they're doing it for their family, and of course they may even club together to get an app between them, in their family, so they can use it all the time, and that's feasible. Because if you share it with a few people, you get it for free. Basically, it doesn't cost you anything. And then for any entrepreneurs out there, there's an opportunity to obviously become a quantum frequency nurse, but also just an advocate and a distributor of the technology. So, I can see this really growing very, very rapidly. It's only been available as a software app for about 2 years. Company's been going for about 4 or 5 years, I think, in total. So but the songs that you select, the music, there's ones for like just calming and relaxing and to help you sort of get ready to go to sleep, and you've got more uplifting ones for the morning that can sort of inspire you, and that's what it does. When it picks out these notes that you're overemphasizing or suppressing, it gives you a readout of what your emotions are typically when you're operating on those notes, and then it creates the optimizing one, and it tells you what that will bring out in you, which is the polar opposite actually of those negative emotions. You've got the positive ones, which obviously go with that. So yeah. So.
Yeah, because I know Jeff had you met some ladies, didn't you, Jeff, that were doing what is it? Is it called the AO voice, or what is it actually called?
AO.
Yes.
AO.
Yeah, so I think it's actually the same technology. Actually, I think Jeffrey was saying that he got approached and had a scan done with this technology. And to be fair, not the person that introduced me, but the one that introduced him is in Australia, and so it could have been one of the same people actually. So yeah, it's very prevalent. It's becoming more prevalent over in Australia in terms of people being aware of it and starting to use it, and in the States. I was one of the first people in the UK, to actually get the app and start talking about it here. But it's available to anyone worldwide ultimately because it's software. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because there are quite different techniques and technologies out there, aren't there? There's like the bioresonance, and then you've got the Tesla frequencies device, which my sister's got. And it looks like you're given electricity, just all buzzing up and down your arms and what have you. But yeah, there are a range of different devices to help people now more than ever, and people are looking more to do things naturally without any side effects. And obviously the side effects could be the triggers that are coming up, and it's just being aware, all right, what's going on here? Why am I feeling that? And addressing all these different emotions.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. So yeah, I mean, so definitely as a supporting technology for health, I mean, there are other people that are able to reduce their medications through using this technology over a course of time with assistance of a practitioner, helping them with that. But definitely in terms of there's so many different aspects as well with this technology and with this company. So you've got like the quantum frequency imprinting, and they've got like little Cepheid dots which you can imprint frequencies to and actually put them on targeted parts of your body. Like there was a lady with breast cancer that imprinted frequencies to help, get rid of the breast cancer, and she had that on her side of her breast, and that palpably reducing the cancer, which they saw positively on the scans. I was using it myself last week for like coughing and a cold, which I had got, and it definitely supported me throughout the whole day. Like I had a terrible night's sleep, and I just thought, I can't really be doing it to go to work, but I have to go. And so it was stopping coughing fits in their tracks, literally. Like I started coughing, I put the frequency on for coughing, and actually I could feel that it actually wasn't going to continue, and it didn't. My head was getting sort of stuffy and what have you, and then I put on the head cold frequencies, and it was clearing it. And I was doing it, throughout the day, and I ended up working until about 11 o'clock at night. That day I actually had more energy than I normally do, even because I was listening to those frequencies so much. So yeah, it's pretty fascinating. I think we've just lost Andrena.
You did. Just hang on a sec here, because of here's the sound of She was asking about the tones, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, this is there's a very subtle tone that's heard in this particular audio clip. So there is the ability with when someone actually when we run a scan for someone and we send them an email from the system, they get 4 audio tracks with their frequencies in those, which they can download to any device, so they don't need the internet to listen to those tracks. And those have sort of pre-decided settings of the frequency in there in terms of the volume and the sound of the frequency. And in each one of those tracks is optimizing one of those notes, whether it was the most active one or one of the most active ones or one of the most suppressed notes. But there's a link that you get as well where you can actually go onto a screen and actually play around with the sound of the frequency, the pulsing of the frequency, the pitch of the frequency. And when you do that, it does seem to have an effect, actually.
Is that coming through?
I can hear it, but it's very quiet. You might want to.
Oh, yeah, I turned it down because your voice. I wanted to hear your voice. Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
If you let people hear that, it's no one's going to listen to these songs that they receive and probably find them unpleasant in any way, shape, or form because they're very relaxing, very nice.
Aren't they really? These are all binaural beats, aren't they?
They're binaural beats, yeah. And,
so the difference there is that there's about 5 hertz difference between the left and the right, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure of the actual detail of that, but interestingly, what I noticed was that actually you're hearing the tone often through one ear and you're tending to hear the notes of the song, the melody in the other ear. And so, of course, your mind is then trying to synchronize those because it's hearing it from both ears. And that's where there's, I believe, a synchronicity happening with the hemispheres of the brain. And I say that because there's information on the CIA's website, which is regards to their gateway experiment. I don't know if you ever explored that, but they were using binaural beats in that. And one of the ways that they were helping people sort of gain this kind of power through consciousness with this technique that they were using was through binaural beats and the synchronicity of the hemispheres through the brain, through how they were playing tones through the headphones. So, yeah.
And of course, once you get left brain, right brain in sync, then again, it's a form of raising your consciousness again, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. Well, this is what the gateway experiment with the CIA was all about. It was all about, being able to see manifest, with it, because everything is energy, vibration, frequency. So with your thoughts and your consciousness, we are the creators of our reality, except if we're actually in a lower vibration and we're coming from a place of fear and disempowerment, we'll tend to keep on manifesting that reality as opposed to the reality, which is obviously one which is abundant, exciting, and full of adventure and all of the new things that we can do because we can create them because we're in that kind of level of vibration of creativity. We are creating all the time, whether it's on the lower density vibration or on the higher vibration one. So what this actually helps people do is get themselves into a higher vibrational state of well-being, and then with that they improve their health, but they can also improve their life in lots of aspects, basically.
Andrena's saying she can't get back in. Just tell us that. Carry on, mate.
So yeah, no, I would definitely invite anyone to contact me if you would like to have some free binaural beats. What we like to do is obviously just try and sort of have people experience those binaural beats, which we know already from the feedback that we're getting that people will love them and enjoy them. The songs, unfortunately, are limited to just 12 songs. So when you're getting your link, you want to play around with the link of the frequency, the sound of the frequency, because that's really what's doing the magic anyway. And it makes it less kind of repetitive when you're listening to those same songs. But I've been listening to them for over a month now, and I still really enjoy them as I do, and I find the benefit of them when I do. But then also, if you're interested in learning about the scanning technology and its uses, especially if you're in the health field, then of course there's the opportunity to potentially get a free pass or a 3-day pass to be able to use a scanner and run scans on yourself and see the different scanning capability within it, but also send yourself imprinting frequencies to support yourself or your family members to sort of see if they have benefits with that as well. So yeah, whatever we can do to get it out there, really, because this is going to help people profoundly, as we were already saying it doing.
Yeah, so Andrew Freezy's just come and asked the question. I think that was related to earlier in the night about your dreams and how your intuition, and then just seeing how the crow fell out of the air and then your dad basically had a heart attack. You say that somewhere along the line, he's asking the question whether or not you've been guided.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've definitely felt that guidance. That doesn't make me special in any way, shape, or form. We're all on our own journey, and in my dimensional perspective, I'm probably, I'm seeing that I'm obviously being guided, and I'm seeing other people, and I'm connecting with people now who are also experiencing that kind of guidance. But then, you know, there's so many people who are experiencing it that I haven't connected with yet, and there's so many people that are being guided, but they're just not necessarily noticing the calls with that guidance. But that's because they've got some important other things to do first, you know, because everything is contributing to the, you know, what we're doing and where we're going in these most auspicious times. But yeah, short answer is yeah, I definitely feel like I'm being guided 100%.
I think most people usually start working with the car parking fairies, so to speak. Ask for a car park, manifest a car park, and then all of a sudden you start seeing on your phone, on your clock radio, anything where there's a time signature, it's a digital. Yeah, quite often you'll see 111 or 1111,
Yeah.
or you might see you know, the 333s and the 444s. I mean, my dad passed away only last week, and he went out at 444. You know, so
Wow.
Yeah, so numbers start playing a role as well for intuition, isn't it? Or I'd go for a walk every morning, and behold, there's a feather just as I'm about to put my foot on the ground.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I've had obviously the numbers and things like that. Interestingly, there was a film which Jim Carrey was in quite a few years ago called 23, or the number 23. And in that story, he absolutely ends up going insane because he just gets obsessed with seeing the number 23 everywhere, you know. And but yeah, that's quite interesting because I've of course got my, you know, kind of affiliation with Jim Carrey. My middle name is James. Most of my friends and family actually used to call me Jim. My surname is Truman, and a lot of your listeners will be familiar with the film Truman Show, which is basically an amazing depiction of the truth behind, you know, the kind of matrix that we find ourselves living in this virtual reality kind of world that we're seeing being controlled and manipulated. And we're all going through the Truman Show awakening, actually. And so I've got a YouTube channel, which is Truman's Awakening TV, and which I started sort of near the beginning of the pandemic. So yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, I've often been feeling like, oh, I'm like the star character of this Truman Show, but the truth is we are all the main character of our own show. We're all the center of our universe. You know, we're having interactions with obviously all of the other players and characters, but of course we are the main character, and it's obviously just about our empowerment. Of course, the more people become open to seeing things, the more they will see them. Absolutely. You know, the reason why people don't see or haven't picked up or noticed these synchronicities and this guidance is purely for the fact is that they've just been discouraged, and they haven't had perhaps the fortunate sort of experience that I've had, where I was from a young age encouraged to obviously have that. You know, my mother has
Hello,
shared.
can you hear me?
Hey,
Yes.
yeah, hi, yeah, good to see you back on. You all right? Can you hear us?
We can see you and hear you.
Oh, that's just frozen.
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you.
We can hear you, Andrena, but maybe she's going to try jumping in again.
Right. Okay. So let's come back to your dreams then. So it sounds like they're really lucid, yeah?
Yeah, I have very lucid dreams. I've had a lot more lucid dreams. Like I noticed that with the binaural beats. And I really obviously would, you know, when I do something, when I find some resonance with something, you know, like I did with the CBD oil, and I had a profound experience with that. I used it properly, and I actually had the experience because of it. I was open to it. I wanted to actually experience it. I wanted to prove it. And so I went for it. And then I had the experiences that I had with it. And same with the binaural beats. So I was listening to the binaural beats, you know, much more than just say for like 10 minutes in one day. Or I was listening to them for, you know, different periods. I'd like listen to for like 15 minutes, and then in the morning, and then maybe like, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes. Actually, at one point I was listening in the beginning for about 45 minutes to an hour on my journey to work, because I thought I'd rather listen to this than the radio. And then it was the night times I was listening to it before I go to bed, and I had many kind of very kind of vivid dreams with that. So the binaural beats are definitely stimulating the mind to be able to obviously give that as well. But yeah, I've had like the amazing dreams. You know, I had an interesting experience with a dream where about sort of, you know, maybe about 12 years ago, and I'd woken up on the Sunday morning and decided I wanted to have a bit more of a lie-in, so I went back to sleep, and then that's when I had this really vivid dream. And that day, not in the dream world, but that day I had one of my good friends, who actually was one who introduced me, who was involved in the carpet cleaning. He was coming over to my house with his wife, and we were going to watch a movie, which was Total Recall. But anyway, I went back to sleep, and I had this dream, and he was in it. And in this dream, I recalled myself being in this home, which was at that time I recalled it to be my oldest friend's home, which backed onto a playing field. And I was in the garden, and my phone rang, and it was Will, my friend, who was coming over to my house that day. He basically called me, and he was asking if I would travel to Oxford to clean carpets. Now, Oxford's about 3 hours away from where I live. And I wouldn't normally travel that far to do a job, although I do high-end quality work, so I do charge a premium. And I said to him, you know, if it's a big enough job, I would do it, you know, so I'll get back to you. But as I was ending that conversation, in the dream, behind my friend's wall, in his garden, there's a playing field. But in the dream, there was this runway and airline strip, and there was planes taking off and stuff. And there's a plane taking off, and I remember looking at this plane thinking, wow, this is going to be cool. I haven't seen a plane taking off and been like literally under it. And anyway, it went straight vertically up, and then I thought, well, that's going to come down. So obviously I probably controlled that dream, because it did. It crashed in the background. I'd run into the house. I was okay. My partner was just in the kitchen cleaning up and unperturbed. And then I suddenly thought, oh, I need to get back to my friend about, you know, doing this job in Oxford, right? So anyway, yeah, a bit of a weird dream. And that day on the Sunday, my friend came round with his wife. We watched this film, Total Recall, which some of your viewers or listeners will know what that film's about. And so I halfway through that film, I actually remembered I wanted to tell my mate about this dream, because he was in it. And so we stopped, and I was sharing it with him and his wife. And I got basically to the end of the story, and his wife was looking at me just in absolute kind of shock, or like, you know, really kind of perturbed with her look. And she said, "You're starting to freak me out." And I said, "Why? You're not getting on a plane or something? You're worried it's going to crash?" She said, No, we've been speaking to our good friends. Well, she didn't say good friends, because they're just not our friends, but they're group friends, about going to Oxford next week. So I picked up on the connection between Will and Oxford, and I never dreamed about Oxford before that. And so, of course, you know, again, yeah, synchronicity. And she just, yeah, she was absolutely freaked out. She thought, oh, because this trip they planned, you see, that they didn't plan to include me and my partner to go to Oxford, and so they'd been keeping it a bit secret, and so it kind of raised alarm bells with her, that like, oh, we can't keep secrets from them, because he'll obviously pick up on it. But so subsequently, I've moved to where I am now. There is actually, I didn't realise until after we moved here, but there's like an airline strip, which is like about 500 meters from where we are. And actually the layout of the house which I'm in is actually the same layout as my friend's house in terms of how it was in the dream, more or less. I obviously didn't recall it as this location. I recalled it to my friend's house, because of course I didn't have any knowing of this house. So I guess it just showed it to me that way, but it kind of seemed to be linked, you know, because I hadn't planned to move to near an airline strip. So we yeah. So that there's been some interesting things there with that. Yeah.
While you're doing that, I've pulled up Binaural Beats. This is abundance meditation. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So
yeah, you hear the frequency is a much higher frequency. It's a lighter frequency. It's a calming frequency. You know, and all of the songs, like pretty much from like the 90s onwards, or 80s, the late 80s, early 90s onwards, a very different frequency in them, really speaking. Isn't that different?
Yeah, and you know what's going to happen now that we've played the music. It always happens. we get Facebook and YouTube saying you're playing copyright music and sell the key in the show. So,
no, not really.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
so
Well-
what happens is that we will.
You might be all right, because I've shared that on my YouTube channel, all those things, and they haven't done anything with mine on that. But then maybe it's because I don't have as many.
Well, you have the copyright. We're the owner. So what will actually happen is that we'll refute their decision, and then they'll come back to you as the copyright owner, and you just say yes, and then be a week, and then they'll put it back up.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, if they do that, for sure. I think with my rap music, I was actually using someone else's backing track, to be fair. So they haven't picked up on that. So because obviously I'm rapping over that, and I've used the other frequencies, which I don't know, actually maybe they haven't been used by. So it might be the binaural beat one, possibly, but I think we'll probably get away with it. I've got a sense we'll get away with it.
Okay, let's visualize that.
Yeah,
Go on.
Definitely.
Yeah, these are the songs you're not looking for.
Indeed. So I mean, one thing I would share, which is actually a beautiful thing that I experienced before I came across GPMS, I had a weekend of confirmations again, which again shifted me in my consciousness again. Already being very aware of synchronicities, and that's what they are. They're not coincidences. It's not down to probability. If these things happen like once or twice, then you could say, yeah, it's a coincidence. But when it happens all of the time, it's just like when I go and I do work, I see this, from a work perspective. I've been doing this for 14 years, and I know the avenues of where I get my inquiries from. And when I get called to go do work in a close or a street that I've never been to before, and then I get asked to go there again within 2 days from a different source, and that happens all of the time. It's again just the confirmations, and part of those confirmations are given to me so I can share them with other people to just say, just look out for this stuff, because you will notice it when you start opening your mind to it. You will start seeing it. Like, I've got friends I've shared these stories with, and they weren't kind of seeing those things before, and now they're calling me and saying, oh my God, you're not going to believe this is just so bad. But I had this beautiful experience, like where I've moved into now. I didn't expect to move. During like I think it was coming up to the second lockdown. Our landlord was basically selling the house, and we had to move. We had a window of 2 months to find somewhere, and we were kind of sort of thinking, well, maybe we'd move out of there anyway. So it kind of, I kind of felt like it was a good thing anyway. We basically looked in a huge area. So we looked in the whole of Surrey, which can take you 2 hours to drive across Surrey from one area to another, especially based on traffic. It's a big area. But I offered on about 4 different properties, and it was just a real shortage of rentals. So basically, we were worried actually whether or not we would be able to even get in somewhere. We didn't get into one in Godalming, one in Hazelmere, one in Dorking, one in Woking. But we got into the one in Cranley, which is where I am now. And, 80 people inquired to get into the property that I've moved into in Cranley. So it was a real miracle that I managed to even get into this one, right? But it was definitely supposed to be, and I was guided to get here because about a month after we moved in, I've been looking at this patch of land which is behind our house, right? There's lots of land. It's a very rural area. I mean, Cranley itself, it takes me about 8 minutes to drive to the centre, to the village, mostly about 50 miles an hour. It's just lots of farmland around, right? So it's quite a big area.
Is that one there, Camberley?
No, not Camberley. It's Cranley. So it's near Guildford. It's between. Actually, you can't see it on the map on that size at the moment. If you look, if you were to enlarge Guildford, it's between Guildford and gosh, mine's gone blank now. It's Guildford. I can't even point it to you. See Guildford there? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you click on there, right. Yeah. Keep on zooming a bit more. Keep on zooming. Okay. Scroll down. Actually, scroll down. Up the other way. Right. You've got Bramley. Scroll down. No, you need to go. You're going in the right direction before. The other way. The other way. You need to go back down. Yeah. I don't know if it's down or not. Now, Okay, see Godalming. So it's going to be impossible to point it out. It's a big area. It's a big area. You'd have to zoom in to see the size of the area. Surrey, obviously, as you're seeing the whole kind of area. Yeah, you're seeing the whole kind of area of Surrey anyway. It's like Normandy, Wandsborough, Shackleford. It's a big area, right? Anyway, we
spell your
moved in.
place. Spell.
It's called Cranley.
Spell.
Cranley. Yeah, Cranley, UK. There.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so it's actually got a sign there. It says it's the largest village in the country. Largest village, yeah. The village itself is a tiny little village of shops, but it's just a big area of farmland. There's lots of farmland around there, Ewhurst and all the rest of it.
Right.
And when we moved in there was a piece of land at the back of the house, which is like my garden's maybe about 40 meters, and just a bit beyond that there's a field. And I was just like looking at that field, thinking, what's going on there? It doesn't seem to be too much there, but it was quite a big piece of land. And I've been wondering that for about a whole month. And then, me and my partner, we were just exploring this new area, and we drove into Guildford, the main town centre, on this day. And as we drove about 300 metres from our house, I suddenly recognised this tree line. And it's because I'd actually driven out and done a random job in Cranley the year before in the summer. And I thought, this is a beautiful area. It's way farther than I would normally go for a normal job. I was doing a bit of a favour because it wasn't a big job for this client of mine. And as I was driving out, I thought, this is far out, but this is a lovely area. I would love to live here. And so when we were taking this drive to Guildford, I said to Mary, I think we may have manifested our way here. I think we might have actually manifested our way here, because when I did that job, I'd actually left something behind at the client's house by accident and got home. And then my partner jumped in the car with me, and we went back out there, and we were both really loving the journey and the drive and the environment when we were there. So anyway, having had that conversation with her as we're going into Guildford, I said, I think we may have manifested our way there, right? On the way back, we said, should we take a drive down that road that runs directly behind the house and see where that goes? So we did. And that was only a 10-minute drive, and then we came back. And as we're coming back, we go past that piece of land that was behind my house. And Mary said, isn't that piece of land, that land that we looked at just at the beginning of the pandemic? We had actually done a search to see if there was some land with the idea to build like a house on it, because that's something we could potentially afford rather than getting on the housing market at the time. And basically I thought, no, it can't be. And I looked at my phone, and I'd sent myself the email, an email with the postcode, and it was that piece of land. And just the chances of that, with the timing and everything else, was just absolutely so. And having said that day, I think we manifested our way here. What more confirmation could you ask for? Yeah. So there was that was absolutely hilarious. And then I also that was on the Saturday, but on the Friday, I did a job for a client, and I was like sort of saying, having just an interesting conversation I hadn't had with any clients before, talking about my short time at private school. And when I was finishing up that job, she was like, okay, you're off to your new house then in Cranley? And I was like, yeah. And she said, funny enough, I'm going to be going down to Cranley on Monday, or I'm going to be near there. I'm going to a place, near Pulborough. I was like, oh yeah, I know Pulborough. And I said, that's not far. It's only about 15 minutes. She said, well, I'm actually going to a place called Bury. I said, really? I said, that's weird. I said, because, I was telling you about my private school that I went to for a short period. That was in Bury. And she said, really? That is strange. She said, what was it called? And I said, Dorset House. And she went, no, that's where I'm going, because, my daughter's getting married in the church school at Dorset House. And in 14 years, I've never, ever, ever talked about that. I've shared it with a lot of clients now because I'm telling them about the story, right? But, I hadn't done it. And I just thought, wow, that's just fascinating. So that was amazing. And then I ended up having as well, on the Friday night when I got back, I swore I had an email or a text from my brother saying, okay, if you're going to come over and see mum, the gates, there's a problem with the gate. It's not working properly. And anyway, because I was planning on going there on the Saturday. Obviously, I didn't go on the Saturday, went to Guildford instead and had that other experience. But on the Saturday night, I thought, hang on, did I get a message? Because I can't see it. I'll have a look. I thought I had a message come in that I saw come in, but I hadn't actually opened it and seen it properly. So I wanted to sort of see what it said. Couldn't find the message, couldn't find any email. I thought that's really weird. I had fallen asleep on the Friday evening because I was quite tired on the couch, and I thought, was it a dream? So I phoned up my brother and I just said, oh yeah, I just wondered, did you send me a text or an email the other day? And he's like, no, I didn't send a text or email. I said, are you sure? I said, I could have sworn that you sent me a message about the gate not working in case I was coming over to see Mum. He said, well, I definitely didn't send you a message or an email, but that is really weird because the gate's not working.
Oh, true. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Very,
So,
very good.
Yeah, 3 confirmations of things, and then again, a month before this is just about a few weeks or a month before I came across GPMS, which again, the people involved in GPMS are very high conscious, spiritual people, and my kind of spirituality, like not religious, but my actual connection to source and my consciousness has elevated a lot since I connected with them. Hey, you're back.
Oh God. Talk about sent to try. It just kept saying internet down. It was going round and round, and I just couldn't get back on. So I've just come on to say hello, and probably nearly time to say goodbye. Anyway, I'll have to listen to the replay to listen to what you're talking about. So carry on.
Yeah,
I think it's the synchronicity of things that take place. He's obviously got the force rolling through him. So.
Yeah, you'll have to watch back because you'll find that there's some interesting experiences that I had, and
he's got Obi-Wan Kenobi talking to him. He's the force, Steve.
All right,
he's the force, and he's doing it
right up your street, Jeffrey.
definitely to show me, that we're on the right path and we're doing the right things that we're supposed to be doing right now. Those of us that are ready, to assist, right? And the one thing that I was just saying is that these massive synchronicities that I had just before I came across GPMS.world, I also basically had started in January. I came across it in March of 2022, I think it was. Yeah, in January 2022, I started to build a website which was basically the GLFB. It was the Global Love Freedom Bank website. So the idea was obviously that we would obviously unite the people that are awakening. We'd create our own bank, and then that would obviously assist in us having more freedom. We'd love freedom because we could create money, we could be free to travel because we could have our cruise ships and whatever, and they wouldn't be able to stop us, when there's enough people doing it. Because in the beginning of the and the essence of that website was fundamentally the same as GPMS. So this is why I say that if Rick hadn't actually built that website, someone else would have done, and it could well have been me because I was already in the throes of doing it. In the beginning of the pandemic, very, very quickly realized that obviously what was going on with it, and that it was obviously just a farce and all the rest of it, and there was obviously lots of agendas at play, and they were causing direct harm. I knew that basically the plan was obviously to destroy the economy. And of course, I know how much harm that causes to people because obviously stress is the underlying cause for most diseases and death, premature death. And obviously it was going to affect psychosis and mental health and all the rest of it as well. So I being an entrepreneur, and I had obviously another interest in CBD and the business I was working with, I wanted to try and find ways to be able to increase people's financial independence as a pushback. Because obviously you increase the wealth enough for enough people, then you've got a lot of good-hearted people that can actually help those that are in desperate need and just improve the balance for all, basically. So I was already working on those strategies. I built a website which was all about CBD and hemp, and to bring that sort of into people's consciousness. And really, it was actually quite a good website. Unfortunately, I've had to stop it because I just didn't have the time to put it out there enough, and it wasn't getting enough traction anyway at that time. So. But yeah, I was instrumental in my consciousness, at least in terms of what needed to be done, figuring out which would be the best pathway, and then of course that led me to a digital marketing platform where I created another website, which was this GLFB, the Global Love Freedom Bank, and I was basically just channeling the information from GPMS with that to a degree. I didn't get very far with it. It was more of a me practicing using this new technology that I was using, but it was interesting nonetheless, that there was that connection with that. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. There's more things as well, obviously you just like you don't know where to start when you start talking or when to stop.
You there, Andrena?
My signal, I don't know if you can hear me. My signal is
degrading.
yeah. I don't know what is going on. It's never been this bad. So humble apologies to everybody. So I'm not sure if you're coming to the end there. So have you said all you needed to say? Have you
Yeah, I mean, I've given everyone a bit of background on me and my journey, and obviously emphasised, what I wanted to with gpms.world. I just encourage everyone to have a look at the website and really take the time to look at it. When we're creating something new, you need to basically just take some time to read it and get your head around it, and sort of see that the intention of it is pure and it's for everyone. So we've joined our Facebook group. We've got a Facebook group. We've got various Facebook groups for GPMS. We've got also a YouTube channel, so you can follow, you can listen, and you can also share it with other people. And then, the key thing is uniting the people in whatever way we can. It gives us the ability, when we unite, to be able to support ourselves and be independent when things get worse. And unfortunately, they are going to continue as they are, trying to drive, what they're doing, which is the digital world, and to hell with everyone else and all the rest of it. It's going to cause more suffering and more hardship for a lot more people. And so we want to be able to do this as quickly as possible to alleviate that and prevent that as much as possible. But at least in the meantime, even before GPMS is fully delivered and implemented, what we're seeing already is that, the network, as it grows and people are really connected, not just, on a Facebook group or just as a number, or basically through the website, but actually collaborating with us. We're able to share, we're able to support, we're able to do lots of things. Which basically means that we're actually really implementing GPMS well before it comes into the official implementation process with a full majority vote ultimately. But the numbers do all of the proof for anyone, so there's no opposition to it. We get to the worldwide majority. No government can be in opposition to this. No institution, because the people have spoken, and we're generally supposed to be in a democratic world, right? So of course, and it makes the most sense, and it will make more sense to people as time goes on. So I'd love to thank you so much for inviting me on the show, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and be tuning in to your show for sure to watch more guests and listen to more guests.
You're right there, Andrena? All good?
Right, I'm not getting, I can just hear real crackly bits. I'm not hearing Denovan what you're saying, so I'm going to have to listen to the replay. So I'm really sorry about this. It's totally out of my control.
100%. Well,
so anyway, thank you for coming on the show, and it's been really enjoyable. You've shared so much on so many different levels, so you've given people a lot of food for thought, and hopefully they'll all sign up. So thank you for coming on at short notice, and it's been an absolute delight.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Andrena. Thank you, Jeffrey. Much love, much light, much gratitude. We've got this, and it's going to be a beautiful world.
All right, and same time, same place next week, all being well. Thank you, everybody.